racing around Road America in a Ferrari Testarossa. The leaves, the red, matches the color of the leaves blasting by me. This is what they make commercials out of. Chuck it in gear, all sliding around, getting a little frisky. My initial impressions are, this is odd. Why? Because the seating position. We've all heard about how these older Ferraris had awkward seating positions, but you sit in this, and initially, your wheel is basically attached to the dashboard like the old Atari arcade games. The pedals are moved to the right. I mean, I've never sat in anything that's just so misthought out. With that, there is the non-negotiables, right, in a Ferrari that make this a Ferrari experience. There is the gated shifter that clinks into gear every time. That's just romantic. Every time I do that shift, I think, oh, Ferrari, yes. This car is really the 80s version of perception versus reality like we all do on Instagram these days. The reality of this car is that it was designed to be a grand tour, to be comfortable, to go on long trips. This was where we now associate those front-engine Ferraris with being the grand tours and the cars that we know are meant to be a little bit more relaxed. That was this. At the time, Ferrari was feeling pressure from other manufacturers to find ways to put the engine in the middle. That was the preferred location for supercars and fast cars and sports cars. So then Ferrari went back to the drawing board, moved the radiators to the back, widened it, and that's how the Testarossa was born. But when people saw it, they thought this was supposed to be that supercar, that ultimate car, and it just wasn't. That wasn't the intention. And immediately when you drive it, you realize that absolutely was not the intention. The reason I say that is because you get in here and it's a big open space. You wouldn't do this in a sports car, something designed to go faster on the racetrack. The layout of how you sit in it and how you feel in here, it feels spacious. There's a lot of glass. There's a lot of room. That's the things you do for a car you're supposed to spend a lot of time in. Long drives, something to go on a grand tour with. And the sultry push from that 4.9 liter flat 12 in the back is courtesy of 380 horsepower, 362 pound-feet of torque that will get you from 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds, which at the time was quick and still is quick, but it's not supercar quick. That's a fast sports car, a car meant to drive on long drives. The feel inside the Testarossa is something truly unique to this era Ferrari. The lack of power steering means the steering is heavy, and it just, when you're in low speeds, you go to a low speed area, I just have to laugh thinking about Wall Street bankers and finance bros of the 80s finding themselves in brokers trying to navigate around Miami Beach in one of these. You could tell why their blazers had to have big shoulders, because they were just developing massive muscles trying to manhandle these around tight street corners. You have to get all sorts of wheel just to make around the tightest corners. That's why this car has struggled, I think, in a lot of ways to live up to its expectations, because everyone had it wrong. The most famous part of the Ferrari Testarossa has to be these cheese grater sides. Now, these came about because the car before this had the radiators up front. This caused the cabin to be really hot, the packaging was terrible, so Ferrari moved it to the sides for this. Then they had to create these massive vents. Well, those weren't exactly legal because they looked like they could suck humans in. So they came up with the cheese grater side. Now, this portion is really the only portion that was needed for a vent. going all the way along the door, well, they did that for design reasons. And you have to agree with them, it's pretty cool. Now, I understand if you want to buy one of these. It is a Ferrari, but it's also an 80s Ferrari. Therefore, there is a couple things to pay attention to when looking at buying one. For this, I need maybe a little help. So, we start with that many Testarossas have had their stock exhaust system removed, oftentimes along with the stock cats. The car should start from cold quite easily. If it doesn't, it could be a simple fix or a complicated one. For example, if the car idles at half RPM and when you go to rev it up sounds like a UPS truck, this is probably a fuse box issue that has killed power to one of the fuel pumps. These engines are set up as two 6-cylinder engines, essentially, and melted fuse boxes are common. An updated one will fix that. Parts availability. Some parts are almost impossible to find. If you're looking at a car that needs parts, find out if this part is available before you buy the car. The interiors are fragile, and the leather-wrapped dashes are known to shrink. To fix it, they need to take the windshield out. Cooling systems. There's 2 of every one of them in this car. You need to budget for potential repairs in the cooling system. The transaxles are weak, especially if it's cold. If somebody doesn't let them warm up, and then they go and shift real hard, open your wallet, actually open many wallets. If you're looking at a Testarossa made between 1985 and 1989, make sure it had the pump chain update and the water chain update. These require the engine to be taken out. The cam belts need maintenance every 15,000 miles, which requires the engine to be taken out. The stock twin disc clutches are a weak link. Upgrade ones are available and you do not have to take the engine out. Let's say you bought a low mileage car, good investment. But before you drive it, you should trailer it to a Ferrari shop for an engine out service. All right, quick note, engine out service sounds terrible, but these cars were designed to be worked on with the engine out. The whole rear cradle comes out of the car and allows them to work on the engine. And let's be honest, how many cars have a flat 12? Good things come from a little effort, right? If you're shopping for a Testarossa, the good news is the values have actually come down in the last few years. In the early 2000s, a 1990 Testarossa in number 2 excellent condition was a $60,000 car. But in 2014, they took off. As of September of 2020, they've settled around $110,000. As always, values change over time, so please go to Hagerty.com/valuation tools in order to get the most detailed and up-to-date information. So if you're watching this as a buyer for one of these, then undoubtedly you are older than me. And it really comes down to, what did this car mean to you, right? If this was the Ferrari that you aspire to, then by all means, find a way to get in one of these. You will enjoy it. It is fun to drive. It makes all the right noises. It clinks into gear. It does all the things you hope it does for a Ferrari, and that the Ferrari you viewed and watched and eventually looked at videos and listened to, it does all of that. And sure, there's going to be the issues, but you can fix those. And you can't really put a price on the idea of achievement. As the owner of this car, Jason, said, when he gets in it, he feels like he's made it. If this is the Ferrari that does that for you, then by all means, go get a Testarossa.